am Cesar Santos, and today I'm going to talk about sketchbooks and especially how these are made. Sketchbooks have been used for centuries. Masters of the past use sketchbooks because it's a way to take your studio with you wherever you go. You have access to a page, and when you think of something, you want to write it down, or if you think of a compositional idea, you can also have it. You can take with you months of work in a single sketchbook. That way you can refer to things that you thought before and combine it with new ideas. So it's a very useful, handy tool to have. It's the artist's best friend. Today you can find sketchbooks available for purchase at any art supply store. This one actually is from my high school years, and you can see it's just a generic cover, a black cover, and I have some stuff here, a couple of glasses, some notes from school. I can go back and see my development as an artist. Another sketchbook similar to this that I started adding some variations is that in this one used to be black also, but I cover it with a spray paint and then sanded and did a cool outside to it. I changed the cover on purpose just to make it my own. And you can see sketches, copies of Michelangelo at that time. One day I'm gonna go over this and show you the pages, but today I wanna talk in a general way about sketchbooks and show you that they come in different sizes, shapes. For instance, I have this little sketchbook here, which is great for traveling. I take it everywhere I go, put little thoughts, sketches of towns I visit, things I like. This is really useful in terms of access. Different shapes. This is a new sketchbook I got. It's a triangular sketchbook. For now, I just rented a couple of things here. I haven't drawn in it yet because of the paper. It's not the best quality, but I love the shape of it, and I'm sure I'm gonna do some weird triangular drawings in here. You can also find sketchbooks of different tones. Way before studying at the Angel Academy, I bought this sketchbook, and I remember I loved it because of the tone of the page that it had. I thought it was very convenient to take it to Florence because when I saw the works that the masters were doing and the students were doing at the Angel Academy, I realized that they were not made on pure white paper, that there was a tone to these papers. The benefit with using a darker paper is that you can add whiter stuff to it and dark, and both will be visible, rather than having just a pure white paper that only you can add dark stuff to it instead of having that middle value. So having the middle value is great because you can add the white and the dark things around too. I did a little self-portrait in the back and the front. You can play with the idea of also doing stuff around the cover. In this case, I have a leather cover for this one. The pages were out of the factory, not so well for drawing. If I do a sketch, it's a very simple sketch. I mainly use this type of pages to write ideas, poetry, etc. I have to thank my friend Rodolfo Rivas, who gave this sketchbook to me. In sketchbooks like this, where the paper is not meant to draw with such a high quality, because the paper won't take as much charcoal layers on it. Basically, this sketchbook contains everything I've learned throughout student years and things that I come across, all the information. This sketchbook here, I remember putting this cover on top to cover the black. Both sides will be like this. I decided to do a drawing of my restricted license. We have some sketches making fun of my teachers at that time that I didn't like as much. When I was studying, I remember doing a lot of sketches of masters, of the artists that we were learning at that time. And you can see the influence. Here's a sketch of the god that I did, like Joan Miró. Now here is a treasure. This is a sketchbook I have. It used to be Pietro Annigoni's sketchbook. I was able to get this sketchbook from his biographer. I haven't drawn this because I just think it's better to keep it like this for now. I was flipping through these pages and I found one little sketch here. There you go. So this is the only sketch here is by Pietro Annigoni, just to show you different varieties of sketchbooks and different shapes and how they're used. I saw this sketchbook and I fell in love with the look of it. Even though I found this sketchbook so interesting, when I tried drawing on this paper, it was rice paper, so it wasn't taking the drawing of the pencil, the charcoal, as well as I was expecting it. And I decided to just glue other drawings that were floating around and write on it rather than actually drawing on this. It was really bad. As soon as my technique started developing, I required better paper. Before, any paper was fine because I used to just play around and it didn't matter. But now the thing that is most important for me in a sketchbook is the type of paper. And I cannot find that type of paper with the sketchbook and the quantity and the shape the way I want it. So what I do is that when I go to Italy, I go to this place where they still have the books made by hand. So the first thing I do is that I go to my favorite art supply store, Secchi, and I select the paper that I want. This time I went for the Canson mid-toned paper and also Fabriano paper, which are the two papers that are great for either drawing or painting. In the description below, I will be putting the name of the store and the type of papers I use, so just look on the links below to find those important information. The artisan in Florence who binds my books allowed me into his workshop to show me how he makes the sketchbooks. He showed me how the press is antique and how it works better than any of the new machines available now, made in Italy. So he's really proud of what he does, and I'm glad he does that because that art is going away soon, and he says that every time he has less and less work. He went over the stapler machine and showed me how that works, and it was very interesting because I'm not familiar with that type of machinery or process. Also how before the glue was applied on the paper by hand, and now he has a machine that does it in a quicker way. So we were looking at it. Having the sketchbooks made is great because I can design the cover too. I can select some of the type of the Florentine type of design of covers, or maybe a solid color that I want. Having the ability to control the cover of the sketchbook, the type of paper I want to draw on, and the size, the thickness is very convenient for me. That creates an attachment to the sketchbook that even when you're drawing on it, it will reflect that love and that knowledge, that connection you have with the experience of creating the sketchbook. And I think that is part of my expression too. That's why I have so many sketchbooks and I work constantly on them. As soon as he finished the sketchbooks, he called me a couple of days after to pick them up, and I saw them. I couldn't wait, so I decided to that same day go to the museum and do some sketches on the spot on these new sketchbooks. Here are some of the sketches I did that day. Antonio Ciseri, Sorbi, and I got to the underpainting only of this one. I didn't have the time to finish it, but I guess I'll finish it later with some photos. The way I do the process on the sketchbooks is that I go to the museum, I draw, I start, and I make notes. I go back to my studio, and based on the notes, I correct the drawing or the painting. And then I go back to the museum, compare again, write some more notes, come back to my studio, and so on. So at the end, it's more of a memory work where I experience something at the museum, but I'm not painting there. I'm just writing things and thinking about it. And as soon as I go back to my studio, I put that into practice where I paint it and then go back to compare it. Let me show you how I prepare a page for when I'm going to do a painting. In this page, I have prepared for a painting. The way I do it is that I get the page and put a couple of coats of gesso. With this Campintura, I wanted to create a color that would be friendly for my flesh colors, for portraiture. Normally I do portraiture, and in this case, I wanted to create something that already will help me find the colors of the flesh. And the colors I used for this was raw umber, white, and light red. This is a great start, and this is the way I prepare my pages to paint on it. Check the links below to check out the 3 colors that I use for this Campintura. There are Winsor & Newton, titanium white, raw umber, and light red. At first, when you apply the paint, the paper wrinkles up a little bit, it gets a little wavy, but as soon as it dries and you close the sketchbook, it stays flat and nice to be able to paint on it and carry it around. If you watch my other videos on my sketchbooks, you will see that I have a wax paper in between 2 pages. And the reason is that you don't want the drawing to contaminate and influence the other page, the other drawing, or even to have the graphite go away. So I put a wax paper, that way it stays fixed. Actually, in this page, I have a drawing I did from life of artist Teresa Oaxaca. She's a good friend. And here's a drawing I did of her. I did this in 2006. So let's revise the important things about sketchbooks. First, you need to have one, okay? So if you're an artist and you don't have a sketchbook, get one. Even if you're not an artist, get a sketchbook. Just draw stick figures on it. It's gonna be fun and you're gonna not regret it at all. once you're in the process of selecting a sketchbook, what size do you need it? Do you need it like this to travel and take it everywhere you want, or you want more of an elegant, spacious page to be able to draw on it? Do you want to paint on it too? Then you need to select a thicker page that you can gesso and apply wet medium on it. Do you want to have it made so you can customize the color of the cover? Maybe you can just get a generic one and add some stuff to it to decorate it. The important thing is for you to feel intimate with your sketchbook, to have your concepts, your ideas, your principles that you're creating as an artist, to put them down in writing or in sketches, because that will make it stronger. That will develop a stronger foundation for you to then create art outside of your sketchbook. This is kind of like behind the scenes, the rehearsals of a movie. This is where the magic really happens, and the result of what you do outside of your sketchbooks, when you do a painting or you do a drawing to sell or to present to the audience, is a result of everything that you have gathered, all the concepts that you have learned within your sketchbooks. Should we wrap this video up? I sit back with the sketchbook in hand just to plan the next painting that crosses my mind, and to ask all my fans to subscribe to my channel that talks about art. It's bizarre that it's actually hard to come up with the cards to play avant-garde in the arts.